Right, hello again. I'm here with Richard Bowser from Property Investing News. Morning to you, Richard,
Yeah, good morning, Peter. Lovely to get online with you.
and to you. Nice to see you. So, your life for the last few years has all been about collecting data and churning it out again. You must be completely upside down now on all of this.
Yeah, it is a very bizarre world that we are collectively in, and of course the implications for that are our working lives are upside down, our social habits are on hold.
Mm,
Until very recently, obviously, no one could be going out, and obviously we've had all of the nonsense over the weekend with Cummings saga. But in terms of our daily lives, much of it has been on hold for the last 8, 9, 10 weeks, and working lives are upside down. And there are knock-on consequences all the way through the economy. Same with obviously private landlords, same with commercial landlords. I'm sitting talking to you here in North London, within 100 yards of where I live. I've got literally half a dozen pubs, 5 restaurants, 4 bakers. Most of them are closed, and I don't know when they're going to be reopening.
yeah, yeah. And we're getting a whole mixture of news on resi landlords and commercial landlords. So things are sort of they're happening, but at a very slow pace now. So.
Indeed, and picking up really on what I just said, but on your initial point about the data for us as a magazine publisher, our reporting, a lot of it is analysis, but based on data, based on trends. So,
Yeah.
as I said to you before, the we're looking at data at the moment, which is from March and February. Well, it might as well be in 1901.
Yeah.
Its relevance to where we are now. And of course, the data that will be coming out and we will be reporting on over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks within the magazine in terms of articles and trends, to some extent, we've got to look at that and say, well, how robust is that data? How long is that data going to be real? Because the patterns of behavior, the patterns of what we're seeing now may not continue for too long, and hopefully we get back to some degree of normality sooner rather than later, obviously.
Yeah. I know one thing that has been discussed quite a bit recently, and I think you're going to do an article on, is student housing.
Absolutely.
Which is very much up in the air at the moment, isn't it? So
absolutely. So no question about it. I live out in Oxfordshire, and Oxford, our elite universities are huge funding revenue in terms of the UK economy. People perhaps don't appreciate just how much revenue is generated by international students, and the employment base in places like Oxford and Cambridge is massive. They're not large locations in terms of size, and much of the economy is related to, and therefore an awful lot of jobs. And then you've got London, and you've got Manchester and Birmingham, where the economy is less dependent. But people should not underestimate the contribution the student sector makes to the UK economy. But also, obviously, it is one of the very strong niches within the revenue streams of private landlords and many HMO landlords. And I know this, that with the SLA, many of your members will derive their income streams, their rents from student properties. So what's going on at the moment is obviously very concerning. Absolutely.
Yeah. And on top of that, particularly in 2 of our big areas of Brighton and Southampton, and in both areas, they've both got 2 universities who seem to be unable to predict what's going to happen in the future. And also, there's an awful lot of institutionalized building going up for particularly freshers and first years, etc. So that's going to affect, and I think they're going to struggle to fill those, quite frankly, let alone the private rental standards system. So
no, it is, it's a I just, you know, we feel as if the rug has been pulled from underneath us. So it's all very, you know, what we assumed were the solid foundations of our normal existence as private landlords or as property developers. That rug has been, so what we've got very uncertain ground, if we could put it in that context. But yes, we're looking at the student accommodation market and the student sector for our June issue, and I've also already concluded now an interview, which is and it's now based on some positive from a student accommodation provider. They're a sector specialist, someone who's a subscriber to Property Investor News. I've known him now for about 12 years. In that 12-year period, he's gone from being a small-scale private landlord with half a dozen properties to around 2 years ago, he was juggling 22 development projects all around the UK.
Right.
2 of them down on the south coast. Most of them are up in the Midlands area. And then I think there's 1 or 2 up in the northwest and 1 up in Scotland as well.
Yeah.
They have just sold 3 of their schemes, which were completed a few years ago, tenanted by students, and now they've sold off those schemes. But that's been a 6-month sale process, so he's been very, very edgy in recent weeks.
I can imagine
What's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm having a refresh call with him later to conclude the second part of the interview, but that'll be going into the magazine, which we go to print next week. But picking up on your point, Peter, about the student accommodation supply, yeah, I mean, all private landlords, traditional HMO landlords, will in sectors around the UK will be very aware of the amount of purpose-built student accommodation. It's probably as what they call the alternative real estate sector. Student property has been massively popular for a number of years now, and a lot of big money has gone into it. Big money coming from pension funds, institutional type investment, where they can see the long-term, what they call the long-dated income. Yeah. In other words, you fund or you build a student block in a popular location where student demand is very solid, and the likes of the legal and generals and the pension funds go, okay, well, now we've got 30 years worth of income in order to be able to correlate against our needs to pay pensions out, etc., etc. That's why there's been such a strong demand for it. And switching on to a slightly separate class, that's now flowing into the build to rent. That same institutional-led funding of pension monies, wanting assets which generate long-dated income. That's exactly what we're now seeing with the build-to-rent sector, with the growth of build-to-rent. And I'm aware down in Brighton, I think it was Legal and General got planning permission quite recently for a 650 units build-to-rent scheme in Hove, which will be being built out over the next 3, 4, 5 years, and that was quite recent. So just digressing there slightly onto build.
No, that's interesting stuff. Yeah. And as you pointed out to me a week or 2 back, Cambridge University upset everybody by announcing they were going to go completely online, and they now seem to be backtracking slightly on that. So, so no, we're not. So
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, this is an article that I have yet to see, the one that's going into the June edition. It's the way as the editor of the magazine, I give my journalists a brief. I give them some contacts from my personal contact black book to speak to, but I leave it to them. Occasionally, we'll have a sort of midway discussion about what the research they've been doing and their analysis and how that's playing out. But I've yet to see the article, so I don't know where my colleague's piece has got to with it. But absolutely, the Cambridge announcement, and also I think Manchester as well, around about the same time or slightly earlier, has raised massive, concerns. And we had a discussion about it a week or two ago when it was announced. And yeah, the repercussions, the potential repercussions that for student revenues for the universities, but also particularly for our constituency, people that are listening to this discussion, student landlords, are they going to be university students? Are the high-paying overseas students going to be coming? They're the ones perhaps that certainly in London and other places are happy, or their parents are happy to pay the higher quality accommodation standard. They'll they want private flats in nice blocks as opposed to a smallish HMO room, because
yeah, exactly,
that's just the nature of the market.
And thank you for that, Richard. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.